So, so yesterday we have seen like how you work with yes, I said how to install MySQL, right? And then we'll see. So how to work with MySQL. So this is an overview. I just give an overview of MySQL. I'm just giving overview of MySQL database. I'm just giving overview of MySQL database. So you can work with MySQL. So what you can do, this is overview. This is an overview of MySQL database. So here, every database application or database understand every database application or database understand one language. Understand only one language called SQL. So SQL stands for structured. Okay, SQL stands for structured query. SQL stands for structured query language. So every database understand only one language. And what is that language is SQL. Any database, not only MySQL, any database understand only one language. So all these are different database applications. For example, this is the database called Oracle. Okay, so this is called as Oracle database. Okay, and this is Oracle database, and this is MySQL. Okay, MySQL database. Any database understand only one language. Suppose this is SQL server. So how you communicate with all these databases using one language? If you want to perform any operation, you try to do the operations. If you want to perform any operation, you try to perform the operation using which language here? SQL language. You perform the operation using what? SQL. So your SQL stands for structured query language, right? So any database application, Oracle or MySQL or SQL server. So these understand only one language, and what is that language is SQL. So what SQL provides is SQL provides some set of commands. SQL provides set of commands. SQL provides set of commands to perform operations on which one? Database. So SQL commands are classified into different categories. So SQL commands are classified into different categories. The first one is called as a DDL, which is called as data definition language. Second one is called as DML, called a data manipulation language. So data definition language, manipulation language, DRL, or same thing you can call it as data. So data retrieval. So data retrieval language. And there is a DCL, which is called as data control language. And there is a TCL, which stands for transaction control language. This is called transaction control language. So SQL provides set of commands to perform. SQL provides set of commands to perform operations on what? Database. And SQL commands are classified into different categories like DDL, DML, DRL, DCL, and one more is what? TCL. Like this. 5 classifications are there. How many classifications are there? 5 classifications are there. So every database application or database understand one language called which one? SQL, which is called a structured query language. SQL provides set of commands to perform operations on what? Database. And SQL commands are classified into different categories. So if you want to do anything on database, if you want to do anything in any database, you are doing it with the help of which one? SQL, which is called a structured query language, right? So if you see DDL commands are like create, alter, and drop. So if you see DML commands like insert, DML commands are like insert, update, delete. So DRL command is what here? Select. Okay, and DCL commands are like commit, grant, revoke, and TCL commands are like commit. TCL commands are like commit, rollback. So these are different commands like DDL, DML, so DRL and DCL and TCL. So with the help of these commands, you perform operations on database. If you want to insert data into a database, you'll try to use which command? Insert command. If you want to replace the values, you'll use which command? Update command. If you want to delete the values from the database, use which command? Delete command. Okay, so these are the commands which you are using to perform operations on the database, like insert command, update command, and one more is what? Delete. Okay, so next is in database, the data is stored. In database, data is stored. Data is stored in a table format. In database, the data is stored in which format here? Table format. In database, data is stored in table format. Say a table is a collection of rows and columns. A table is a collection of rows and columns. Any database application, how the data will be stored in database application, in which format the data will be stored in table format. In database, the data is stored in which format? Table format. A table is a collection of rows and columns. A table is a collection of rows and columns. Okay. So each column contain more than one value like that. Then next is how to, so next is how to open MySQL, and start working with what here? MySQL. Okay. So if you want to store the data, first you have to create what? Table. So how to create a table in MySQL? Okay. So for that, first you have to open. So open MySQL command line client. Open. This is MySQL, right? So open MySQL command line client. Open MySQL command line client. So you get this when you install MySQL. So you can see MySQL command line client. Okay. So when you install MySQL, you'll get this MySQL command line client. Open MySQL command line client. So yesterday we given the password as a root. So username is a root and password is also root, right? So yesterday I've given the password of this is root only. So open MySQL command line client. So when you open MySQL command line client, it will ask for password. But what is the default username? Root. So at the time of installation, it will ask you to enter username, right? So default username is root and the password I have given is what? Root. So if you install, it is okay. Otherwise, just listen. Okay. So after this, next is, okay. So next is, first step is creating database. So creating, how to create. So next is how to create database inside MySQL, because a database is a collection of database tables. Okay. So to create a database, I'm saying create. The command which I'm using is database, create database, and it followed by database name. So first you have to create database, and inside the database, you create which one? Inside the database, you create which one? Tables. So how you are creating a database? Using create database and database name. Create database and database name. So I'm writing here create. So I'm writing here create. So create database name. So I just write here database one. So what is the name of the database here? Database one. So yeah, this is already there, it seems. So we'll give another name because that database is already there. DB some 7 AM. What is the name of the database? This is also there. Yes. Create database. So just give the name of the database. Some database. Okay, database 7 AM, right? So database is what now? Created. So what is the name of the database created? Database 7 AM, right? What is the name of the database created? Database 7 AM. So this is how you create the database. So creating database is done by using create database here. Once the database is created, how to open database? Because we have to open database or activate. Open database or activate database. How to open database or activate database? How to open database or activate database? So for that, you are using the command called use. For that, you are using the command called which one? Use. And it followed by database name. Okay, use, it followed by database name. Use, it followed by what here? Database name. So this is to activate the database and use. Which database you want to use? Database. Database what here? 7am. So you are inside which database here? Database 7am. If I write only use, it will give error. Now use must be followed by which name? Database name, right? So you should give use. And what is the name of this database 7? So use the database name. Use followed by database name. So that is to activate or open the database. So that is to activate or open the database. So for that, you are trying to use a command called use. So once the database is used, within the database, how to create? How to create which one here? Table. How to create a table? Okay. Inside the database, how you create the table? Because where the data will be stored in, okay, the data will be stored in what? Tables. Where the data will be stored in, the data will be stored in what here? Tables. So where the data will be stored in, the data is stored in tables. Yes. Where the data will be stored in, the data will be stored in what here? Tables. So how to create a table? You are saying create. How you are creating table? Create table. You are creating like this. Create table and table name. Table name and followed by column name and it followed by data type. Column name, data type. So then column name and one more is what again? Data type. So again column name, data type. Like this, we can define multiple columns along with the data type. Now this is how you create a table inside the database. So you are creating table like this. Create table. Create table. What is a table here? Student. Because I want to store whose details? Student details. Okay. So what student is having roll number? So roll number. So what student is having? A student is having roll number. And roll number is which type? You have to define roll number. So MySQL is having some data types. So this is MySQL data types. Lot of data types are there in MySQL, right? So it's having some number of data types, numeric data types like this is having number of data types. If you see numeric, in numeric you find all these data types like integer, small integer, decimal. All these are called which one here? Data types. Okay, all these are data types. So what you don't have minimum common sense, right? Why you give a space? Uh, will give a space, database name space, database name. Create database name. DB1 use database. Did I said use database or use database name? What here? Uh, did I said use database name? Did I said use database name? What here? Uh, what I said use database name. What you write? What you have written here? Use database name. What Edwin? Use database name. I didn't say use database name. Use database name. So create table, and what is the table name? Student. And all these are data types. Actually, all this you should know it. I should not tell all this. Actually, a MySQL you should know it. Oracle you should know it. Okay. So in Python we just communicate with Oracle, or we just communicate with what? MySQL. But even though I'm telling you how to work with the MySQL, how to install MySQL, right? Okay. So create table student. What is the table here? Roll number. So roll number is which one here? Integer with the size of 5. Okay. And there is a name. Name is varchar. Varchar means string. What is varchar here? String. And string, what is the size of this name? 20. Then there is a course. Course is also varchar. And the size of this is what again? 20. Varchar means string. Then there is a fees. So where I'm saying float. Some 10 comma 2. So total width is a 10. How many decimal places? 2 decimal places. So this is creating table. Okay, now table is created. Table is what here? Created. Table is created here. Yes. So the table has been created. So use database name. So create table, and table is created. And if you want to see the tables, okay, if you want to see the structure of table, you can use describe. Okay, describe. And what is a table name? Student. Now this is a table student. How many fields are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are data types. Okay, these are constraints, right? So describe is there. Describe is for describing, displaying the structure of, describe is for displaying the structure of table. If you want to display the structure of table, you are using which command? Describe command. So describe command. So this will show you the structure of this command display. This command display structure of table. Okay. So after this, if you want to insert data, if you want to insert the data, how to insert data? How to insert data or rows? How to insert data, or what is that? Rows. So you are inserting it by using which command? Insert command. So insert is an SQL command, right? So insert command is used for inserting rows or data inside a database table. Inside database table. So how can you insert the data into a database? By using which command here? Insert command. By using which command here? Insert command. So what is the syntax? Is insert into it followed by what here? Table name. Insert into it followed by table name. Insert into it followed by what here? Table name. Insert into table name. So table name and it followed by what names here? Column names. Insert into table name values. So you have to represent values for each column. For each column, you have to represent what here? Values. For each column, you have to represent values. By using which command here? Insert command. So how you are writing it? You are saying insert into. You are writing like this. Insert into table name. Insert into table name and it followed by values. And you are representing value for each column. Insert into table name values. You are representing values for each column, right? So this is a value of first column. This is a value of second column. And this is a value of which column here? Third column, right? So insert into table name and followed by which one here? Values. Okay, so that is insert into table name values and it followed by which one? Values of each column. It followed by values of each column, right? Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm writing insert into. So what is the table name? Student values. Roll number is 1. Name of the student. Okay. Course of the student and fees of the student. Okay. So you can see one row is created. You can see one row is what here? Created. Okay. So we try to define values. We try to define what here? Values. Right? Want to insert one more row. You can see insert into student values. So roll number is 2. Name of the student. Course of the student. Fees of the student. Values. Roll number 3. Name of the student. Course of the student. And fees of the student. So I try to insert number of rows. I try to insert what here? Number of rows. So for inserting, you are trying to use which command? Insert command. For inserting, you are trying to use which command? Insert command. So for inserting, you are trying to use the insert command. Yes. After inserting, how to retrieve? How to read data from database table? How to read data from database table? So in order to read data from database table, okay, we use which command here? Select command. What is the command used for reading the data? Select command. In order to read data from database table, we use which command here? Select command. So what is the syntax of select command is? So select a star from table name. Select a star from table name. This syntax, okay, display or read entire table information. Entire table information are all the rows from database table. All the rows from database table. So this is a syntax 1. All the rows and columns, all the rows and columns from database table. So for that you are using select star from table name. For that you are using select star from table name. So here I'm writing select star from table name. What is the table name? Student. You can see how many rows are there? 3 rows. 3 records are there. This is roll number 1, roll number 2, and roll number 3. Yes. So this is a syntax 1. So this will read the entire table. This will read what here? Entire table. This will read the entire table. Okay. So there is another syntax. That is a syntax 2. Syntax 2 is select a column name. You don't want all the columns. You want only some columns. Select column name from, select column name from table name. Select column name from table name. So this syntax, read, selected column values, selected column values. This syntax read, the syntax will read which one here selected column values. The syntax read selected column values. So how you are writing it? Select, okay, name comma course from table name. What is the table name? Student. Then get only 2 columns, name and course. If I'm saying select, okay, select name comma fee, course from student. Then it select only this columns. So if you want to select only selected columns, then you are trying to use this syntax. Only selected columns, then you are using this particular syntax. Then you are using this particular syntax. If you want to read only selected columns. Now there is a syntax 3. So what is the syntax 3 is select. Okay, select star or column names. Okay, you can say select star or column name from. So what is this here? Table name. So where it followed by which one? Condition. So this syntax, okay, read selected rows, selected rows from where? Database table, selected rows from database table. Okay, so that is which match this particular condition, which match the condition. Suppose I want to select, I said select star from student, okay, where name of the student equal to Naresh. Name of the student equal to what? Naresh. So it will select only the row whose name is what here? Naresh. So select, okay, select star from student. So where, so fee greater than 2000. I want to select all the students whose fees is greater than or equal to 2000. Greater than or equal to 2000. Now you can see 4000 and what is that? 2000. So if you want only selected rows, if you want only selected rows, then you're trying to use this particular syntax. You're trying to use this particular syntax. Okay. So what is that syntax is? Where condition. You are giving where condition. So where you can select only selected rows based on some condition. So then how to replace? The next is how to replace data or how to update rows. Replacing or updating the rows. So in order to replace, in order to replace or update rows, then you are using Now SQL provides which command here? Update command. SQL provides command, update command. So what is the syntax of this update command is update. So update it followed by what name? Table name and set a column name. So which column you want to update? Set column name equal to value. Set column name equal to value and where. So if I don't give the where condition, it will update all the values. So update and where it followed by which one here? Condition. Where it followed by condition. For example, I want to update the fees of Suresh. I want to update the fees of which one? Suresh. Then I'm trying to say update. 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 What is the table name? Student. Sector. Which one you are updating fees? I want to update to 2500 where name equal to which one here? Suresh. Now you can see selector star from student. Now you can see the fees is updated from 2000 to what? 2500. From 2000 to 2500. So I'm trying to say update. Okay, student. Okay, set fees equal to fees plus 200. I want to update. I want to increment the fees of all the students with what here? 200. All the students. So here is only one student. But here a condition is there? No. Condition is not there means it will update. It will update what? All the students. So select star from student. So it is updated all the students. But if you want to update only one student, you have to give where condition. If you want to update only one student, you have to give where condition. But if you want to update all the students or all the rows, so you don't require to give the condition. So just give the update command. So that will update all the rows. So that will update all the rows here. So this is called as updating. So updating all the rows and updating the selected row. Then how to delete? So deleting. So deleting rows from database table. So how can you delete the rows from database table? So if you want to delete the rows from database table, you are using the command call. So in order to delete rows from database table, so SQL provides which command? Delete command. So what is the name of the command? Delete. So what is the syntax of delete is? So from delete from table name, delete from table name where it followed by which one? Condition. So delete from table name and it followed by condition. Okay, delete from table name and it followed by condition. So deleting rows from database table, in order to delete rows from database table, SQL provides which command here? Delete command. SQL provides which command here? Delete command. So that will delete. SQL provides delete command and that will delete the entire row. So that will delete what here? Entire row. Okay. Yes. But if you don't give the condition, it will delete all the rows. If you don't give the condition, it will delete all the rows. Suppose I want to delete this Kishore. So delete from what is the name of the table? Student where name equal to what is that? Kishore. Where name equal to Kishore. So this row is deleted or not? Yes. You can see that. Select star from. What is the name of the table? Student. So now Kishore is what here? Deleted. Okay. So if you want to delete rows from database table, you can use the command called which one? Delete. Okay. So this is how you insert, update, and what is that? Delete and retrieve. So DML, crude operations. These are called which operations? Crude operations. Inserting, updating, and deleting. So this is for creating table, and this is for describing a table, and this is inserting data into the table, and this is reading data from table, and this is updating the data in the table, and this is deleting rows from database table, right? So it means if you want to do anything in database, you have to use which commands? SQL commands. Now next is how Python. Now this time we are doing all this where at the back end. We are directly doing in the database. But I want to do all these operations. I want to do all these operations from Python program. I want to do all these operations from Python program. I want to write a Python program to insert data. I want to write a Python program to update the data. I want to write a Python program to read the data. I want to write a Python program to delete the data. I want to do all these operations from where? Python program. Okay. Yes. Now, how Python program communicate with? How Python program communicate with? No, you cannot delete column here. Okay. Yes. How Python program? How Python? So the requirement is now how Python program communicate with? How Python program communicate with what? MySQL. MySQL what? Database. How Python program communicate with the MySQL database. Okay. So in order to communicate with MySQL database, how Python program communicate with MySQL database. How Python program communicate with MySQL database. How Python program communicate with the MySQL database. So in order to communicate with MySQL database, okay, MySQL provides a library. MySQL provides a library called MySQL provides library called MySQL called MySQL MySQL what here? Connector. MySQL connector for Python. MySQL connector Python is a package. MySQL connector for Python is what here? Package. It is a package. It is a package. Okay, it is a package which is used. It is a package which is used to communicate with. It is a package which is used to communicate with which database here? MySQL database. So MySQL connector, you can say MySQL connector is what? Like driver. MySQL connector driver, right? So if you want to communicate with any hardware, you require what? Drivers. Like that, Python program uses one driver. What is a driver? MySQL connector. Driver is nothing but here is what? library. MySQL connector driver or library. Okay, library or package provides. Okay, provides set of what? Set of functions to communicate with set of functions to communicate with which database? MySQL database. To communicate with MySQL database. Okay, yes. Then first step is install. How to install which one? MySQL connector. How to install MySQL connector? Which one? Python library. How to install MySQL connector? Python library. Okay. So open the command prompt. And here you have to use one command called pip. So pip is a command which is provided by Python for installing libraries, for uninstalling libraries, installation and uninstallation of libraries, installation and uninstallation of libraries. Okay, installation and uninstallation of libraries. So by using which command here? Pip command. So pip stands for preferred installer program. What is pip stands for? Preferred installer program. You are trying to install predefined packages by using which command here? Pip command. So open command prompt. Open command prompt and install pip. I don't know what are the libraries already installed in my system. So I said pip list. If I say pip list, it will show you all the libraries which are installed in my system. So already this is installed or not? MySQL connector, Python is installed or not? Yes. I'll try to uninstall it by saying pip uninstall MySQL what? Connector Python. MySQL connector Python. So I try to uninstall it so that I can install again. Now, if I say pip list, so in this list, MySQL connector Python is not refreshed, right? Okay. So pip uninstall. So MySQL connector Python. It's not uninstalling. Huh? Yeah. So it is removed here. Okay. Now I'm trying to install pip install. Pip install, what is that? MySQL. What is that? MySQL connector. What is MySQL connector? Python is a package, is a predefined package, right? Predefined library, predefined package or predefined library is a predefined package or predefined library. So it is installed. So you have to use a command called which one? Pip. Okay. So pip is a command. How to install MySQL connector Python library is a predefined library. So open command prompt. Open first word command prompt. Open command prompt. In the command prompt, just install it by using the command called which one? Pip. Install it by using the command pip here. So pip install. So pip install MySQL connector Python. Okay, pip install MySQL connector Python, right? So this is a library what you require. But who's providing this library? This library is provided by which one? MySQL only. This library is provided by which one? MySQL only. This library is provided by MySQL only, right? Okay, right? So using pip, you can install any library. Okay. So pip command is used. So what is a pip? So pip, so pip command or utility. So pip command or what is that? Utility. Now this command is provided by Python. This command is provided by which one? Python to manage which one? Python what? Packages or libraries. To manage Python packages or what? Libraries. So pip stands for preferred. So preferred installer program. Installer program. Prep stands for preferred installer program. Okay. So this is used for installing. This is used for installing and this is used for installing and uninstalling which one? Python libraries. Okay. Installing and uninstalling libraries. If you want to install it, just write pip install. What name here? Package name. Package name or library. Package name or library name. If you want to uninstall it, use pip uninstall. What is that package name or what is that library name? Package name or library name. Pip list. So this will show you the list of libraries already installed. If you want to see the list of libraries already installed, you are using pip list and pip uninstall and you are using pip list. Okay. It is used for installing Python libraries. It is used for installing which one? Python libraries. Okay, so once this is done, now, so import this library. Import this library. Yes, ideally open the editor and here you verify. Import MySQL. Import MySQL. If I say import MySQL, so is it this library is imported or not? Yes. So MySQL is a package. If you are getting this, means this library is installed. Okay, this library is what here? Installed. So import MySQL. What is the name of the package? MySQL. Is it a predefined or user defined? Predefined. So within MySQL package, there is one more package will be there. What is it? Another package is connector. MySQL dot connector. Import MySQL is a main package and this is called as which package? Sub package. This is to verify. So import. So this is import. So open ideally or any editor. Open ideally and verify. So verify library, library or package installed or not. How you verify it? By just importing it. How you verify it? By just importing it. By saying import. Okay. By saying import MySQL and import MySQL dot what is it here? Connected. Right? Yes. This is how it is. Okay. So how your Python program communicate with the database? Your program, Python program, communicate with the MySQL database by using one library. Your program communicate with, this is a Python program, right? So how your Python program communicate with the database, MySQL database. So this is a Python program, and how it is communicated by using, what is this here? MySQL what? Connector. How it communicates using MySQL connector. So using MySQL connector, it is able to communicate with which database? MySQL database. So what is MySQL connector here? What is MySQL connector here? Library, or it is called as which one? Package. So this package provides some functions. With the help of that functions, it is able to communicate with what? Database by sending all SQL commands. By sending all SQL commands. Okay, yes. Next is how to perform. Now, how to perform this database operations. How to perform database operations. So what are the basic steps? Basic steps to work with. What are the basic steps to work with database? To work with database or to communicate with, what are the basic steps to communicate with database? Basic steps to communicate with a database. The first step is import. Import which one? Library. First step is import library. And second step is establish. Establish connection to what? Database. Because database is a server and your Python program is what here? Client. Okay. Your database is a server and your Python program is what here? Client. Your database is a server and your Python program is a client. Your database is a server and your Python program is a client. Okay, your Python program is a client and your database is what here? Server. The Python program is a client and your database is a server. Okay, so first step is establish connection to a database, and second step is create cursor. What is the second step is create the cursor. So cursor and send with statements, SQL statements. Okay, SQL statements. And then next is read or get results or read result from cursor. Then fifth one is close connection. Close which one here? Connection. Now these are basic steps. These are the basic steps to communicate with what here? Database. The first step is import the library, and second step is establish connection to the database, and third step is create the cursor, and fourth step is send SQL statements and read result from the cursor and then close the connection. Okay. So first step, how to establish. What is the first step? How to establish. How to establish connection. How to establish connection to database. How to establish connection to what? Database. How to establish connection to database. Yes. So MySQL.connector package provides which method here? Connect method or connect function. Connect function which which establish connection to what? Database. And return which object here? Connection. Return which object here? Connection object. After establishing connection to a database, it returns which object here? Connection object. So MySQL.connector package provides which function here? Connect function, which establish connection to a database and return which object here? Connection object. After establishing connection to a database, it return which object? Connection object. So what is the syntax is? You are trying to say connect. It followed by database name. Okay, first is database name, and second is username. Okay, third is password. You have to enter database name, username, and password. Okay, if you want, you can enter host name. Host means where your database is running. Okay, you also define that. But is it your database is running in the same system or not? Yes. Okay. So what is the name of the function here? Connect. So how you are connecting it? Yes. I'll write here just for testing it. Connection equal to MySQL dot any variable name. So X is holding which object? Connection object. So X equal to MySQL dot connector dot connect. So what is your database? What is the name of your database? Database name is database. Database what here? 7 AM. What is your database? Database 7 AM. And what is the username of my database? Root. What is the password of my database? Root. Okay. Yes. Then press enter here. So connected. If you want, you can print X. So X is holding which object? It is holding which object here? MySQL connection object or not? Yes. It is holding which object here? MySQL connection object. So what is the name of the database we created, right? What is the database we created? Database 7 AM. And what is the username of the database? Root. What is the password of that database? Again, root. So this is written MySQL, which object here? Connection object. Is written which object here? MySQL connection object. Now this is testing it, whether it's connected to a database or not. So it is written MySQL connection object. Okay, so once, yes. This is how you have to write it in the program. Suppose in the program, you can write import MySQL dot which one? Connector. So every time I have to write MySQL dot connector, right? So instead of saying that, I try to access this. With one alias name. What is alias name I've given? MySQL, right? So instead of saying mysql.connector every time, I can simply write which one? MySQL dot connect. So MySQL is referring to which one? MySQL dot connector. Okay. So what is your database? So database, what is your database? Database 7 AM. And what is the username of that database? Root. What is the username of the database? Root. And what is the password of the database? Root. Username of the database is root, and the password of the database is also root. And here I display the message. So connection what? Established. Connection established. Then I call which function here? Main. So connection established. I called which function here? Main, right? So once you run this, you can see connection established. You can see connection established, right? So once the connection is established, using this connection, what do you using this connection, you send which statements? SQL statements. But how can I send SQL commands? I can send this SQL commands by using cursor. How can I send this SQL commands? I can send this SQL commands using cursor. So imported, and then connection what here? Established. Okay. Yes. Okay. Right now, this is just try to do up to this, right? Establishing connection. Now, next, we'll see how to insert, update, delete, and retrieve data from database tables, right? But actually, there's no class tomorrow. You don't have class tomorrow. So next class is day after tomorrow, right? There's no class tomorrow, right? So there's no class tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, we'll see it, right? So just try to practice this. We'll see day after tomorrow, right? Thank you.